respected friends, seekers of wisdom. Today, we gather to explore a power that resides within each of us, a strength often unseen but profoundly capable of shaping our lives and our world. The enduring power of a moral life. This concept also can be understood as the power of righteousness. This is not merely about adhering to a set of rules, but about understanding the deep, natural laws that govern our existence and learning to live in harmony with them, thereby crafting a future filled with meaning, well-being, and true happiness. Chapter 1. Expanding our vision, the true measure of wisdom. Let us begin by considering the nature of vision itself. In our everyday lives, we plan. A young child might dream of a favorite toy. As they grow, their vision extends. A teenager might meticulously plan their studies, envisioning a future career. A young adult might dream of a life partner, listing all the desirable qualities. For example, they might say, "My future spouse must be kind, successful, good-looking, and faithful." They try to design their happiness. This is a natural human tendency. As we mature further, our foresight typically stretches to encompass our career trajectory, financial security, and eventually retirement. We ask ourselves questions such as, how will I live when I am old? Who will care for me? For many, this is the furthest horizon of their planning. Death is seen as the final curtain, beyond which vision does not, or perhaps cannot, penetrate. But I ask you, is this the true limit of human wisdom? Buddhist teachings encourage us to cultivate a far more expansive vision, one that bravely looks beyond the confines of this single lifespan. True wisdom is not just about being clever or knowledgeable about worldly affairs. True wisdom is the capacity to see far into the future, not just decades, but lifetimes ahead, and to understand how our actions today shape those distant tomorrows. Imagine questioning someone, "When this life ends, where will you go? What plans have you made for what comes next?" To some, this question might sound strange, even unsettling. Yet, it is perhaps the most vital question we can ask ourselves. Only a mind that dares to confront this can begin to live with true purpose and profound foresight. The individual who plans not just for retirement, but for the well-being of their consciousness across countless future lives, possesses a wisdom that is truly vast. This is the foundation of a morally empowered life. Chapter 2. The law of cause and effect, known as karma, the architect of your destiny. If our vision extends beyond this single life, what principle governs that continuity? It is the universal law of karma, which is the law of cause and effect. This is not a decree from a divine judge, but an inherent natural law. Simply put, every intentional action of our body, speech, and mind plants a seed. And every seed, given the right conditions, will eventually ripen into a corresponding fruit. Think of your life as a garden. Your thoughts, words, and deeds are the seeds you sow. Kind thoughts, gentle words, and compassionate actions are wholesome seeds that will blossom into happiness, peace, and favorable circumstances. Conversely, thoughts of anger, harsh words, and harmful deeds are unwholesome seeds that will inevitably yield a harvest of suffering, conflict, and misfortune. This principle is always at work, impartially and unfailingly. Understanding this is not a cause for fear, but for empowerment. It means that you are the principal architect of your own experiences. You hold the power to shape your present reality and your future destiny through the choices you make in every moment. Let me share an illustration. There was once a civil servant who began his career in humble circumstances, facing considerable financial hardship. However, he was deeply inspired by the ethical teachings of service. He dedicated himself to his duties with utmost diligence, honesty, and a genuine desire to help the public, never seeking bribes or using his position for personal enrichment. Over the years, a remarkable transformation occurred. From a state of poverty, he gradually attained prosperity, respect, and security. When a period of organizational downsizing threatened many jobs, those who had relied on flattery or unethical shortcuts found themselves vulnerable. But this man, due to the strong positive karma generated by his unwavering integrity and selfless service, was retained and valued. He saw this not as mere luck, but as the natural fruition of the good seeds he had consistently sown through his ethical conduct. His life demonstrates that the effects of our actions are not just abstract theories for a distant future. They often manifest tangibly within this very lifetime. Chapter 3. Designing a Positive Future, the Practical Cultivation of Well-Being. Understanding the power of karma, how then can we consciously and skillfully design a future filled with well-being, not just for ourselves but for others too? The path lies in cultivating specific wholesome qualities through our actions, cultivating prosperity through generosity and ethical service. Many aspire to material comfort and financial security. The surest path to lasting prosperity is not through grasping or exploitation, but through cultivating a generous heart and engaging in ethical service. When you give freely, whether it is your time, your resources, your skills, or your compassion, to benefit others, to support worthy causes, or to serve your community with integrity, you create powerful causes for future abundance. Think of it. If you dedicate your work to truly serving the needs of others, naturally, positive conditions will flow towards you. Cultivating health through compassion and non-harming. Robust health is a precious asset. The foundation for good health is deeply intertwined with our ethical commitment to non-harming, a principle known as ahimsa in some traditions. Actively refraining from killing or causing harm to any living being is fundamental. Furthermore, cultivating boundless compassion, caring for those who are sick or suffering, offering comfort and support, and contributing to the well-being of all creatures. These are actions that plant potent seeds for our own future health, vitality, and longevity. Imagine a person who lives a long and healthy life. Often, you will find a history of kindness and respect for life, cultivating beauty through kind thoughts and speech. While physical beauty is often prized, true and lasting attractiveness radiates from an inner state of goodness. One of the most powerful, yet often underestimated, ways to cultivate such beauty is through the consistent practice of kind thoughts and, especially, kind speech. Consider your words. Are they typically gentle, polite, truthful, encouraging, and beneficial? Or are they often harsh, critical, sarcastic, untruthful, or divisive? The sustained practice of right speech, speaking words that are kind, honest, constructive, and harmonious, has a remarkable transformative effect. It not only fosters peace and understanding in our relationships, but also, over time, can refine our very presence, lending a gentle, approachable, and attractive aura to our face and demeanor. Imagine undertaking a personal experiment. For 5 consecutive years, make a conscious and dedicated effort to speak only words that are respectful, encouraging, considerate, and kind. Avoid all forms of gossip, slander, harsh language, and unnecessary negativity. According to the deep wisdom of cause and effect, it is highly probable that you would observe a tangible, positive transformation in your facial features, perhaps a softening of lines, an increased radiance, a more serene expression. This is because the mind and body are intimately interconnected. A beautiful mind, cultivated through consistently kind thoughts and wholesome speech, naturally expresses itself through a more harmonious and pleasing physical form. Conversely, a mind habitually steeped in anger, resentment, criticism, or negativity will subtly, yet surely, etch those patterns onto one's outward appearance. This inner beauty, born of virtue, is far more captivating, enduring, and meaningful than any superficial or temporary cosmetic enhancement. Cultivating wisdom through learning, teaching, and sharing knowledge. Beyond material well-being, health, and beauty lies the invaluable and indispensable treasure of wisdom. How is this profound quality cultivated? It begins with a sincere thirst for learning, not just acquiring worldly knowledge and practical skills, but also seeking to understand the deeper spiritual truths of existence. Then, crucially, wisdom grows exponentially through the selfless act of sharing. When you generously and joyfully impart beneficial knowledge to others, when you patiently help others understand difficult concepts, when you support educational initiatives and institutions that promote learning and enlightenment, you are sowing powerful and enduring seeds for your own intellectual and spiritual acuity to flourish, both in this life and in countless lives to come. A traditional story tells of a humble farmer who generously donated his land for the construction of a village school, thereby ensuring education for many future generations. As a karmic result, it is said he was reborn in a future life with great intelligence and a profound aptitude for learning. Unlike material wealth, which can be depleted if not managed wisely, wisdom shared with others only multiplies, benefiting both the giver and the receiver. It is important to understand that the development of profound wisdom and deep spiritual insight is often the slowest and most gradual of all positive attainments. It typically requires many lifetimes of consistent, dedicated effort in learning the Dharma, diligently practicing its principles, and compassionately teaching and sharing its truths with others. The great geniuses of human history, those remarkable individuals whose brilliant insights and discoveries transformed our world for the better, were invariably individuals who, according to this understanding, had diligently cultivated these karmic causes for profound wisdom over immense periods, spanning many previous existences. These are not magical formulas for instant results, but timeless principles of cultivation. Just as a dedicated gardener patiently and persistently sows wholesome seeds, waters them with consistent effort, protects them from the weeds of negativity and unskillful habits, and nurtures their growth, so too must we diligently cultivate these positive qualities in all our thoughts, words, and actions. Chapter 4. The Ultimate Refuge, the Guiding Light of Spiritual Values and Reverence. While striving for a good and comfortable life in worldly terms is natural and understandable, the human heart, in its deepest recesses, yearns for something more, something that transcends the purely material and temporary. This is the innate human quest for profound spiritual meaning, for an unwavering ethical compass that can guide us beyond the often confusing and superficial allure of mundane existence. This intrinsic spiritual inclination is, in fact, a sign of our innate intelligence and our potential for higher understanding. However, this quest also requires great discernment. In the vast and diverse landscape of spiritual paths and religious traditions available in our world, how do we find one that is truly authentic, that leads to genuine liberation from suffering and not to further confusion, dogmatism, or even harm? It is absolutely essential to seek out and commit to a right path, a concept known as Chan Dao in Vietnamese Buddhist terminology. This right path is one that is firmly grounded in verifiable truths, profound wisdom, universal compassion, and ethical integrity. For millions of people across cultures and throughout history, the teachings of the Buddha, the Enlightened One, have provided such a clear, practical, and profoundly effective path for over 2.5 millennia. The figure of the Buddha, as the perfectly enlightened teacher who rediscovered and shared the path to liberation, and other great, highly realized sages and bodhisattvas serve as unparalleled sources of inspiration, guidance, and as boundless fields of merit. Bodhisattvas are enlightened beings who compassionately vow to help all sentient beings attain enlightenment before entering final nirvana themselves. Cultivating sincere, profound, and unwavering reverence, a quality known as Thân Kinh in Vietnamese, for these holy beings is not an act of blind, unthinking worship, nor is it about seeking personal favors through supplication. Rather, it is a profound recognition of the highest, most sublime potential of human consciousness, and a heartfelt aspiration to actualize that same potential within ourselves, guided by the luminous example of those who have successfully walked the path before us. This attitude of deep reverence, when cultivated with sincerity, yields extraordinary and transformative spiritual benefits. One such benefit is becoming an inexhaustible source of merit. Offerings made and respect shown to ordinary individuals, even those who are virtuous and well-intentioned, generally create a limited amount of positive merit and can sometimes even involve subtle, unseen karmic debts or obligations. However, the merit generated from sincere devotion, respect, and offerings directed towards a fully enlightened Buddha or a high-level bodhisattva is said to be immeasurable, boundless, and inexhaustible. This is because such enlightened beings, having completely purified their own minds of all defilements and obscurations, represent perfect fields of merit. This accumulated merit becomes a vast and powerful positive force, propelling our own spiritual development and creating favorable conditions for our practice. Another key benefit is that this merit acts as a shield against error and negativity. This profound merit, born of true reverence, acts like an invisible shield, a powerful spiritual protection that safeguards our minds from succumbing to unwholesome thoughts, destructive negative emotions, and harmful, unethical actions. When we inevitably face life's myriad challenges, the metaphorical, dense and thorny jungles, filled with hidden dangers and temptations, or the stormy and treacherous seas of emotional turmoil and confusion, it is this accumulated protective merit, generated from our consistent reverence for the triple gem of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and other holy beings, that helps us to navigate these difficulties safely. It helps us avoid committing grave errors of judgment or conduct, and to maintain our ethical integrity and spiritual equilibrium. We become significantly less likely to commit acts that we would later deeply regret, even in situations where our ordinary, unaided judgment might falter or lead us astray. For example, a person endowed with a substantial store of such protective merit will often find that they instinctively recoil from a potentially harmful or unwholesome act, clearly seeing its inherent wrongness and negative consequences. In contrast, someone lacking this inner strength and protective merit might commit the very same act, perhaps perceiving it as normal, insignificant, or even justified at the time, only to suffer the painful karmic repercussions later. Finally, this reverence is a catalyst for inner transformation and eventual liberation. As our reverence for the Buddha, the Dharma, his teachings, and the Sangha, the community of noble practitioners, deepens, matures, and becomes absolute and unshakable, it has a profoundly purifying and transformative effect on our minds. Unwholesome tendencies, negative habit patterns, and mental defilements are gradually weakened, eroded, and eventually eradicated. Simultaneously, wholesome qualities such as faith, confidence, loving kindness, compassion, joy, equanimity, and wisdom blossom forth with increasing strength and radiance. This progressive inner transformation is the direct and certain path to spiritual awakening and ultimate liberation from all forms of suffering. The attainment of stream entry, Sotapanna in Pali or Tudahon in Vietnamese, which is the first irreversible stage of sainthood on the Buddhist path, guaranteeing eventual full enlightenment within a maximum of 7 further lifetimes, is said to be inseparable from the perfection of unwavering faith, deep understanding, and absolute reverence for the triple gem. This is not merely an emotional state of devotion, but a profound and irreversible shift in one's fundamental understanding of reality and one's entire mode of being. This sacred path of cultivating reverence and engaging in dedicated practice is not about seeking external favors or miraculous interventions from divine beings. Rather, it is about profoundly transforming ourselves from within, purifying our minds, cultivating our virtues, and drawing limitless inspiration from the perfect example of those enlightened masters who have successfully perfected the path to ultimate liberation and Buddhahood before us. Chapter 5. The Living Dharma, our shared responsibility in a world of distractions and challenges. We find ourselves living in an era of truly unprecedented technological innovation, material abundance for some parts of the world, and instant global connectivity. While these advancements undoubtedly offer many tangible benefits and conveniences, they also present powerful and often insidious distractions from deeper spiritual inquiry and consistent ethical reflection. The constant connectivity demanded by smartphones, the pervasive allure of endless digital entertainment, the relentless pressures of a consumerist culture that often equates happiness with material possessions. All these forces can easily pull our attention away from what truly matters, from cultivating inner peace and wisdom. Young people, especially, growing up in this hyperstimulated environment, may understandably find traditional spiritual centers, ancient wisdom teachings, and disciplined contemplative practices less immediately exciting or appealing than the instant gratification and constant novelty offered by the digital world and its myriad attractions. In such a complex and challenging contemporary context, who then bears the primary responsibility for ensuring that the timeless wisdom of the Dharma, the profound teachings on ethics, mindfulness, compassion, and liberation, remains a vibrant, accessible, relevant, and powerfully guiding force in the lives of individuals and in society at large. This sacred responsibility, dear friends, is shared by all who have come to understand and appreciate its immense value. For spiritual guides such as monks, nuns, Dharma teachers, and mentors, there is a profound and solemn obligation that extends far beyond merely studying and intellectually understanding the teachings. Their foremost duty is to embody these sacred principles in their own lives. Their daily conduct, their speech, their thoughts, their every interaction should serve as a living testament to the transformative power of the core Buddhist trainings in morality, a quality known as sila in Pali, mental discipline and concentration, known as samadhi, and liberating wisdom, known as panna. Their lived example, their very being, often becomes the most powerful and persuasive teaching of all. Furthermore, they must continuously strive to find skillful, creative, engaging, and contemporary ways to share these ancient and profound truths, making them directly relevant and practically applicable to the unique experiences, anxieties, and challenges faced by people living in our complex modern society. If the Dharma is not lived authentically by its proponents, or if it is not taught effectively and with genuine compassion, then it is quite understandable, though regrettable, if people, especially the younger generations who are seeking meaning and guidance, turn away in disillusionment or indifference. For lay practitioners, meaning householders and all followers of the path, the responsibility for upholding and propagating the Dharma does not end with personal study and private practice. Those who have personally benefited from the teachings, who have experienced even a glimpse of the peace, clarity, and joy that the Dharma can bring, have a precious and wonderful opportunity to share its light with others. This doesn't necessarily mean engaging in formal teaching or public speaking, unless one is qualified and inclined to do so. More often, it means consistently living by ethical principles in one's daily life, cultivating genuine kindness, patience, and mindfulness in all interactions with family, friends, colleagues, and even strangers. It means being a positive example. And, when appropriate and done with sensitivity, it involves sharing the insights, the peace, and the practical benefits one has personally experienced through dedicated practice with those who may be receptive. Supporting genuine spiritual communities, ethical teachers, and institutions that work to preserve and disseminate the true Dharma is also a vital and highly meritorious contribution that lay practitioners can make. Every single act of kindness performed, every word spoken with mindfulness and compassion, contributes significantly to creating a more harmonious, peaceful, and compassionate world for all. The inherent power of true, unadulterated morality and authentic spiritual practice is truly immense. It is ultimately far more compelling, deeply satisfying, and enduringly beneficial than any fleeting worldly pleasure or superficial material gain. When the Dharma is lived authentically by its practitioners and shared skillfully and compassionately with others, it possesses an almost irresistible spiritual magnetism, a power to attract, inspire, and transform hearts and minds. The principal challenge for us today lies in our collective ability, our shared commitment to uncover this dormant power within ourselves, to fully embody its principles in our lives, and to compassionately radiate its transformative light out into a world that is so often in desperate need of its guidance and healing. Conclusion: you are the gardener of your own magnificent destiny. The true, enduring, and life-transforming power of a moral life lies not in a rigid or fearful adherence to a set of externally imposed rules or dogmatic commandments, but rather in its profound and inherent capacity to transform our inner world, our thoughts, emotions, and intentions, and consequently, to reshape and beautify our outer experiences and our shared reality. It empowers us to become conscious, skillful, and joyful architects of our present well-being and our future destinies, a creative process that stretches far beyond the confines of this single life, potentially encompassing countless lifetimes of growth and evolution. By deeply understanding and internalizing the unerring universal law of cause and effect, known as karma, by diligently and consistently cultivating wholesome and virtuous qualities through all our thoughts, words, and actions, and by developing sincere and profound reverence for genuine spiritual values and for the enlightened guides who embody them, we are consciously and actively planting the precious seeds for a future that will be rich in authentic happiness, profound wisdom, unshakable peace, and ultimate liberation from all forms of suffering, not just for our own individual benefit, but for the collective benefit and upliftment of all sentient beings. This noble and transformative path is not an esoteric ideal reserved for a select and privileged few, nor is it an impractical dream for some distant future. It is a practical, accessible, and profoundly rewarding guide for every one of us here and now. Every day, every single moment, presents us with countless precious opportunities to plant good seeds, to make choices that are aligned with wisdom and compassion, and to contribute in our own unique way to the positive transformation of ourselves and the world. Remember always, with every thought you consciously choose to cultivate, with every word you deliberately speak, with every action you intentionally undertake, you are actively shaping your ongoing journey through life and beyond. You are the master gardener of your own mind, the principal cultivator of your own life, and, in a very real and significant way, you are a co-creator contributing to the vast and interconnected garden of the world that surrounds you. What magnificent, nourishing, and joyfully blossoming garden will you choose to cultivate, starting from this very moment, with the precious and powerful gift of your life, your thoughts, your words, and your actions? The power to do so, dear friends, lies entirely and wonderfully within you.